my competition life started a few years ago. And one of the best things, in my opinion, about the Miss America organization is that I get to advocate for specific causes, and everyone who communicates gets, or everyone who competes gets to pick a cause to kind of go about with. Let me get my screen presenting. There we go. Okay. So, as I was saying, my favorite part about being with the Miss America organization is that I get to advocate for a specific cause, and that each girl, each woman that gets to compete gets to pick a cause. Today, you'll learn a little bit about the cause that I'm most passionate about and why, and I'll get to talk with you a little bit about what that means in our community today, and for those of you who are here with us. So this presentation is titled Optimism Through Obstacles. I am a very hopeful person. I have lots of dreams for myself and for everyone around me, but I recognize that there are often obstacles that we each have to overcome to be successful in our lives. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've found hope to overcome the obstacles that I've gotten in my life and help others overcome their obstacles in their life as well. So a little bit more about me. I was born in Oklahoma City and was raised in Edmond. I graduated from the Edmond Public Schools, and all four of the kids in my family did. My father is in the Army, and that rounds out our family of six. I'll have some pictures in a second. You'll get to see them as well. And we are a wide and diverse family in lots of ways. After graduating from Edmond High School, I went to Oklahoma City University and studied music and really enjoyed my time there learning to sing classically. I also enjoyed jazz music and gospel music, and I love baking brownies. After my time at OCU, I became a 7th grade English teacher in Oklahoma City Public Schools and really enjoyed that and love my students. And this past June was crowned Miss Oklahoma 2021, and will have the opportunity to compete for Miss America this December. Oh, asking me if I want to admit people. I will let someone else handle that. Maybe if I can. I don't know if I'm the host.
I got it.
Okay,
You're fine.
sounds great. Sounds great. I'm so glad we're having friends join us.
Yeah.
These are a few pictures just of my fun activities and that sort of thing. The picture on the far left of your screen is my graduation day from Oklahoma City University. The picture at the top in the red dress is from an opera performance I had at a competition. I was singing the habanera from Carmen, the opera. The bottom photo is a photo from a time that I was singing the national anthem and I sang the wrong words, which is always a fun story to tell because no one ever believes it, but it happens. It happens. And the far right picture was when I was crowned Miss Oklahoma City, which was the local title that I held before I became Miss Oklahoma. Now, I told you I'd show you some pictures of my family. So these are a couple of photos to show that we have different sides to us. We're kind of fun. We're kind of exploring, but we're also kind of classy in lots of ways. The photo on the left is at the March of Dimes dinner that we went to as a family, and the photo on the right is from the Make-A-Wish trip that we took as a family. And kind of along the way of the photo that we are all dressed up is my dad, myself, my mom, my brother Anthony, my sister Courtney, and Danielle is in a wheelchair below us. And then on the opposite side, that was just when we were at Disney. And as I said, we are a diverse family in lots of ways. Obviously, if you look at us, you can tell we are a mixed race family. All the kids in our family are biracial. And one thing you wouldn't guess by looking at us is that actually both Courtney and Anthony are adoptive siblings of mine, instead of blood sisters or brothers, but I see them as my brother and sister, of course. Danielle and I do share mom and dad biologically, and dad is African American and mom is white. that definitely presents some interesting challenges for us as a family. But again, some that we have learned to overcome. Some of the obstacles that we've seen have been, hard in the way of discrimination, but those were just the beginning when it comes to the obstacles that we would have to overcome as a family. Little did we know. But outside of just our looks as well, we're very diverse in interests. As I said, my dad is in the Army. I am a singer and educator. My mom is an architectural engineer by trade. My brother is a lacrosse coach and works with kids. My sister Courtney is into planes, as I say, mostly because I don't actually know how to talk about her job without sounding stupid. Her job is in aerospace technology and aeronautical systems management or something along those lines. And Danielle now works at a coffee shop, and we'll get more into that later. But she loves to sing also and loves theater also. We love doing things as a family. We love going to church together. And we recognize that the differences that we have and the things that we bring to our family and to the world make us better. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how I recognized some passions of mine. I've always been described as a passionate person, sometimes in a way of probably compliment of saying, oh, you're so passionate, and sometimes in a way of, oh, you're a little too passionate, Ashleigh, maybe calm down. But I think it's always good to be passionate about something. And one thing that I learned early on was that even though our family as a whole was going to be faced with some particular obstacles because of different things that we had going on, I was going to be most passionate about making sure that my sister Danielle was able to overcome the obstacles in her life, because she would need a little extra help sometimes. And that was something I learned very early on and became passionate about very early on. Danielle is my younger sister. She is a few years younger than me. And she likes to tell everyone that she is my twin. Not because we are look-alike in any way. We are not a look-alike pair. As you can tell, she's much shorter than me and looks quite a bit different than me. Her eyebrows are a little skinnier and that sort of thing. But we have lots of same interests and lots of shared personality traits. I like to think that I have a little bit more of a hold on my sass than she does, because she's very sassy and she likes to tell everybody what to do. And I do too, but I've kind of learned when not to do that. She's still learning because she's kind of still young. But as you can see, we're very close. And all of these photos are great memories that we've had together and great times that we've gotten to share. And in being her sister and in learning more about Down syndrome through her and the experience of having Down syndrome has taught me more about being a good community member. It's taught me more about being a good friend. It's taught me things about myself that I would have probably never learned, and ways to ask for help when I need it and give help when it's not asked, and wonder when other people may be needing help when they aren't asking for it. Wonder if someone's not being included in a space that I'm in, and wonder, okay, if this is something Danielle would be able to do, why is she not here? And why are other people like Danielle not here? So getting to know her a little bit better and getting to learn that she had a lot of the same interests as me meant that she wanted to sing also, and she wanted to do theater also. So it meant asking my classmates, why don't we have any friends from the special ed department in our classes at school? And why are my choir classes not including people with special needs or different abilities? And that really started to pave a way for her. And my parents had really great ideas for her to be proactive in making sure she had things to do outside of school. And so that meant that she got to go to dance classes too, and she got to take voice lessons too. And early on in her educational career, my parents were adamant about making sure that she had opportunities to be integrated in typical classrooms. And this is one thing I've noted has projected Danielle's life in a different way than if she hadn't been, because she expects to be included and she expects to be treated like any other person. And I think she deserves that. But not everybody does. And being able to empower her in the way of saying, here's your classroom, you belong here. From an early age is definitely something that set Danielle up for success in the long run. So her kindergarten teacher was Miss Pybus, and we had so much fun making sure that she was included. I guess we shouldn't say we had so much fun, but I had so much fun finding ways to include her and finding things for her to do. When she was really young, we found out about a camp called I Can Bike. And that was a program over the summer that she got to be included in to learn how to ride a bike. And this is just to show you that sometimes the inclusion of opportunity is more important than anything, because she had the opportunity to go and take the summer camp of I Can Bike. And by the end of it, she said, I hate riding bikes and I never want to do this again, but I had fun. And we all got to kind of laugh with her and say, well, we're glad you had that opportunity too. And we're glad you know, rather than never have the opportunity. So that's one thing that we really learned about her, was that she'll tell you when she doesn't like something, and it's better to try and find the opportunity for her and let her choose to enjoy it, or let her choose to fail if she wants to fail in the way of taking a leap, not in a way of, oh, that didn't work out and we're so sad and we're never gonna give her an opportunity again because it didn't work out. But she has to learn how to make mistakes on her own and figure out things for herself sometimes. So yeah, those are all just some fun little stories from photos back then. One thing I learned outside of Danielle, though, was that there were more people than just her that needed this type of empowerment. These are photos from across the years of times that I was able to make friendships and spend time with people in my community and people across the nation that I knew probably at one point in their life were not included. And after Danielle was after Danielle had the opportunity to do the I Can Bike camp, I went and volunteered. That photo is kind of at the top, and that's a friend, Erin, that I made through the I Can Bike camp. And it was lots of fun. We got to have a really great summer, and we continued to be friends after that summer. We're still Facebook friends. The top left picture with the couple of people was at the Best Buddies International Conference. And Best Buddies is an organization that I learned about in college that creates one-on-one friendships between people with unique abilities or different abilities and people with typical abilities. And one thing I learned with Danielle is that there will always be days that she has a harder time doing things than me. But at the end of the day, she will always have an easy time making friends, and she will always have an easy time wanting to be connected to people. And that's so often something that people in her community don't get. Often older people outside of school don't get that. And the older they get through school, the less they get because they aren't integrated into classrooms and extracurricular activities. So I learned about that organization and really dove into it, trying to make as many friends as I could. The picture at the top right-hand corner with the smiley face crown thing on my friend Lisa. She is actually the best buddy that I made from Best Buddies, and we hang out all the time, and she's one of my very good friends. And it's really great to be able to share in community with her and share in community with lots of other people. The bottom left-hand corner is from the Miss Amazing organization competition and programming. And that is a friend of mine named Bradley. She is very spunky like my sister Danielle and loves to be on stage and perform and that sort of thing. And so on and so forth. I mean, I could go on and tell tons of stories about everyone in these photos and everyone that I've ever met. Down there in the right-hand corner is a photo of a boy named Little Rob. And then the other photo is a photo of us just 2 years after that photo. That it's amazing to me to be able to be involved in the lives of Danielle's community, not because I think it's a great way to serve my community necessarily, but that I understand excuse me, as I'm trying to stumble over my words. I understand and recognize that there are so many people in our community that want to be included. at the end of the day. And they want to have friends that know their names, and they want to have friends that have the same interests as them, and they want to be involved in our community. So I've really enjoyed getting to do that over time and getting to make so many different friends. And I hope that so many of you have done that as well. The picture with the party hat is from the Children's Center Rehab Hospital. I got to visit that place as Princess Moana a handful of times for people going through children going through intense medical rehab. And that was a really special experience too. And we'll get into why that means so much to me in a little bit too. So outside of all the challenges that we saw with Danielle having Down syndrome and learning about the different things we'd have to overcome with her and for her and empower her through, when she was in her, I think, junior year of high school, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And Down syndrome presents a lot of different things in your life that, again, are hard to overcome. And one of them being some health concerns, that with your heart and that with other things, your thyroid, etc. And we had already overcome a lot of them. We thought she was going to be in the clear for a lot of her health issues. And during her, I think, junior year of school, of high school, she was telling my parents that she wasn't feeling so well, and all three of the older kids in our family were already off at college, and Danielle was saying to my mom, I really want to go to college too, and where can we find programs for me? And my brother had been looking out of state, and she's like, where can I go out of state? And that sort of thing. And she was really looking forward to her educational career continuing. And she started to feel ill and got, I don't know if you can tell in the photo, she got a little crack in her lip right in the center. And we couldn't really tell what was going on and couldn't tell what the problem was, but we knew something was pretty wrong. So after a while of her going to school and calling home and saying, I'm so tired, I can't go to class anymore, or I don't want to go to school today, my parents took her to the doctor and they got her blood work done, only to find out that she was in organ failure. Really, really severe organ failure, and needed to be taken to the hospital immediately to get some blood transfusions, etc. And that was a real shock to our family, like I said, because we had thought we had overcome so many of the hard obstacles of childhood health issues for people with Down syndrome. And we didn't realize that this was going to be one that our family was going to have to go through and our family was going to have to deal with. She was admitted to the hospital in February and spent 3 months in the ICU at OU Children's. And that involved a lot of just stabilization because she wasn't stable a lot of that time. And a lot of it was spent in a medically induced coma, which meant after 3 months of being in a medically induced coma, her legs were atrophied and her muscles were atrophied, and she couldn't sit up in bed by herself anymore, and she couldn't feed herself. In some of the photos from before, you could see she had a trach put in because she wasn't breathing on her own anymore. And lots of really hard and traumatic things, both for her as the person going through it, but for my parents who were there at the hospital with her every day and were then having to teach their daughter to do these things over again, learn how to walk, learn how to eat, etc. But by the grace of God, Danielle finished her chemo treatments in the spring of 2019 and is considered a leukemia survivor now. And she loves going around and speaking about her experiences and sharing how the hospital saved her life and how her time then also at the Children's Center Rehab Hospital in Bethany, Oklahoma, helped give her legs back. The OU Children's Hospital gave her life back, but the Children's Rehab Hospital, the Children's Center, gave her legs back. As you can see there in those photos, she's still in a wheelchair in 2 of them and then is in a walker in 1 of them. But even now today, I don't have any pictures of her today up there, but she is walking completely on her own, even without a cane, even without anything. And we're so proud of the progress that she made and the determination that we had for her, that she gave to herself. And we recognize that had our family not tried to create independence for her early on, she would not have been able to overcome these things by herself, and had the determination to learn how to walk again at 17 years old, and go back to school and finish her high school up until graduation, and now get a job and try to be as independent as she can, because that was going to be the goal before she got leukemia, and that absolutely is the goal afterward. She's going to overcome every obstacle that she possibly can with the help of us and the determination that she's going to put toward that. I also was really touched by the experience that she had, and really enjoy doing things like this, talking about her experience and our experience as a family. The top photo you'll see was a panel discussion that my mother, who is there on the right, got to do with Danielle and myself for the Children's Center Rehab Hospital, where we spoke about our experiences at the hospital and our experiences as a family, then facing multiple types of disabilities, both being intellectually, developmentally, and now physical, because we were learning so many different things about what it means to have a physical disability that we would have never had to experience with Danielle beforehand, like getting accessible buildings and parking and cars, and all these sorts of things that our able-bodied gal was not able to do anymore. And it didn't make her any less valuable to us, and we weren't burdened by it at all. It was just a different experience. So I continued to advocate for her and advocate for other people going through those types of experiences. The picture on the right, where I'm sitting on the floor in an IHOP, is at an IHOP fundraiser for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And just this past year at Miss Oklahoma, the state of women competing raised about $25,000 for the Children's Miracle Network hospitals in our state. And 5,000 of that, a little over 5,000 of that, was from just me, because I care so much and I truly believe in the life-saving treatments that she got at Children's Miracle Network Hospital in Oklahoma City. Down at the bottom, that photo is one of Danielle and I speaking at the World Down Syndrome Day luncheon for the Down Syndrome Association of Central Oklahoma. World Down Syndrome Day is March 21st because of trisomy 21 in the Down syndrome diagnosis, where she got to share her story for the first time after defeating cancer, and got to talk about the community that the Down Syndrome Association gave for her, in things like Kylie's Kitchen, which is an after-school program or community program for young adults, to learn how to cook independently with the microwave. Because now that Danielle's an adult and my parents are working and she isn't going to school, she's having to cook on her own and make meals for herself. And she's able to do that safely with a microwave instead of having to worry about stovetop or oven things. Outside of that, she has a self-advocate group that meets and talks about things like dating and jobs and other things like that, and what it's like to deal with mental health issues, things that a lot of people outside of the community of those with unique abilities wouldn't associate with them. People always say, "Oh, Danielle is so happy and so excited and such a joyful person, and she's just happy all the time," which isn't true. Obviously, we all go through a variety of emotions. And that doesn't change with, a diagnosis of Down syndrome or autism or anything along those lines. So getting resources for her to share those experiences with other people is a really great thing. And then there over at the left, that's another photo at the Children's Center Rehab Hospital, where we went and donated some resources that we had to the kids there, because we recognized that understanding or knowing that other people understand your experiences often helps with not feeling alone and not feeling like you're going through it by yourself. So that all being said, I've really enjoyed sharing all of those experiences with other people, and have kind of turned that into, I don't want to say my own platform in a way, because obviously I want Danielle to be able to share her own story and advocate for herself. But I recognize that sometimes it takes taking up space that other people have been occupying and pushing your cause to the front. So that's one thing that I'm doing as Miss Oklahoma now. I am enjoying talking to business leaders and community leaders legislators, state developers, people along those lines, for kind of the three-pronged approach to inclusion that I really advocate for, which is education, employment, and social engagement. And I kind of talked about that before, that as you grow older in the world and in your community, if you've got some sort of unique ability or some sort of special need, often you are removed from society slowly but surely as the years goes on. We think it's awesome when little kids play with each other, when one has a disability and one doesn't. And we think it's so cute and that sort of thing. But then we get into educational spaces and we start to remove them from each other. And then by the time they're graduating from high school, or even they are in high school, there are completely separate sectors of the school building for students in the special education department. Luckily, as a teacher myself, I had the opportunity to be really intentional about inclusion in my own classroom and try to encourage other educators in my school to be inclusive in their classrooms as well. But it's not always easy, and sometimes you've really got to knock down the door to do it. My mom did that for Danielle, including Danielle in typical classrooms up until she graduated high school, and saying, you know, Danielle, even if the class is going to be harder, I want you to do it because I want you to make friends. I want you to learn study habits. I want you to, you know, expand your horizons outside of a contained classroom. And that's one of the reasons why we're so excited about trying to create more collegiate programming, because for some students, that's not a great fit. And honestly, for Danielle, right after she graduated high school, after you know, defeating cancer and that sort of thing, it wasn't going to be a good fit for her. And that's why she hasn't gone yet. But it's definitely still something she's looking forward to in the future. So we are continuing to advocate for more collegiate programming for students who need a little bit more support than, say, I did when I was in college, because they deserve opportunities and deserve to be included in those arenas. Often when you go to college, those are the business and social relationships that you'll make that will continue to get you through your adult life and career. So many people meet their bridesmaids, their husbands, their wives, their best friends in college, or they meet some guy they start a business with, or some woman that ends up getting them a job later on. And if you're removed from that arena, you don't have those opportunities. And outside of that, it sets you up for good employment, which is the second prong of the three-prong approach. If you don't have a good education, or you haven't had an integrated education opportunity, it's harder for you to step into an integrated employment opportunity. And I know Danielle was kind of talked with when she was in high school about a couple of her employment options, and the only ones that were really pushed for her were food service and custodial work. And I would have loved to be in food service when I was her age. And I think that my sister Courtney would have been fine being in custodial work too. But those are really not jobs anybody wants Danielle doing, because she hates doing those types of things. And she would just not enjoy it at all. She wants to be around people. She wants to be handling business and, you know, creating a path for herself. So we've tried to find more ways to get integrative employment for Danielle and for her peers as well. Right now, she works at Not Your Average Joe Coffee Shop in Midtown in Oklahoma City, and also at the Lincoln location. You can look them up. They are a nonprofit that serves, their tagline is exceptional coffee and even better people, because they have wonderful employees that they try to be intentional about employing that have special needs or have different abilities. So try to patron them as well. If you don't want to apply, or you aren't interested in working in a coffee shop, go and get their coffee because it's really yummy. And she has other interests in employment as well. She would really like to work with kids one day too. Probably not teaching, but she talks about that she loves babies and she would love to go and work in a nursery one day. So we're trying to find more opportunities and just encourage her to go after her dreams and look for opportunities for herself. And the last prong approach being social engagement. If you manage to get through your educational career and you're now in the workforce, you've had so many opportunities to create lifelong friendships and partnerships and relationships that will last you. And if you don't have those things and you aren't working and you aren't in school anymore, where are your social engagements coming from? So many people who have different abilities don't end up being included in social circles after they graduate high school or even before then. And so it's really important that as a community, just as a whole, especially, being intentional about social engagement and asking people to lunch, asking people to go to church with us, going to hang out with them, going to take them to a movie, talking about shared interests and those sorts of things, because so often they are forgotten about. And it honestly breaks my heart thinking about anyone forgetting about Danielle. And I know I will never forget about her, and she will always have someone to talk to in me. But I know that's not the case for every family. And so that's why I love Best Buddies, and I love other organizations that put me right in the area of making friendships and creating relationships with people like Danielle. That way they can feel like someone is still thinking about them and wants to be included in their lives and wants to share life with them as well. That is the majority of what I have to say to you today. And I don't have a ton more to add. I know that there are lots of things that I could share about, and lots of questions that you guys probably have about the things that I've talked about and mentioned. So I'd love to, I guess, open the floor to questions. If there's anything anybody would like for me to elaborate about, any Miss America competition questions, Danielle questions, family questions, I am opening the floor to those. I don't know if I have access to the chat, or if anyone is allowed to unmute themselves.
Yes, they can. Just unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can type it into the chat any way that you feel.
Perfect. If you are too shy to ask a question, that is my email, and I would love for you to contact me.
I was trying to make sure nobody was muted or something if they were trying to talk.
I've got to go on and look at the chat. There we go. Beautiful family. Oh, thank you.
Miss Ashleigh, I do have a question. I was trying to figure out how to type it, but I figured I could just come on. What ways have you found these community resources like the Best Buddies and Kylie's Kitchen? How do you find out about these groups and support programs and resources for the community?
That's a great question. One thing that I know really helped my family. We did get involved with the Down Syndrome Association of Central Oklahoma right after Danielle was born, I believe, really early on in her life. And word of mouth is one of the best ways to find out about resources. Being open about the vulnerabilities that you recognize for your own family. I know that our family was really early on the HTS train. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with HTS is, but we got on the list, the waiting list for an HTS super early on, and started telling other families, hey, you need to make sure and get on the HTS list. Or we would, have our HTS around a lot. And they would say, oh, who's that? And we'd say an HTS, and she was super helpful. And people would try and get one of their own too. So first being just ask those around you. Google is also a really great, thing, because I think one thing that we did, I'm trying to remember when Danielle was looking for college programs, we just searched college programs for people with Down syndrome, and found that there were so few across the nation. I mean, obviously in the state, I think we just got our second one last year or the year before, and other states have up to 30. So, Google definitely will show you some resources and also expose the lack of resources. But it's never a bad place to start, and asking people around you, joining groups and things like that. Let's see.
Can I just say something real quick? I'm sorry, Ashleigh. So this is Terry Kinder with Oklahoma Family Network. And one of the reasons that I jumped on that I wanted to speak up is because we actually help families get connected to those resources and those different those different agencies and, you know, different things. And we are covered all over the state. We're helping host this conference, and this is one of the things that we do to provide information and services for families. Another thing is somebody had asked what an HTS is. Or Ashleigh, is it for the DDS waiver? Is that what you're?
I believe so.
Meant? Okay, so an HTS is somebody who can come into the home and help somebody with any kind of a disability that qualifies for the waiver, the DDS waiver, to be able to provide services that makes that person more independent. So as such as Ashleigh's sister, so that she wouldn't have to depend on mom or Ashleigh or dad to do some regular daily chores that she might not be able to do because of her physical disability, that, you know, they could come in and help her do some of those things. And
we have many different I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Go ahead. That's what I was going to say.
For us, over the span of Danielle's childhood, we had many different HTSs. I shouldn't say many. We had a handful of HTSs. And I think that stands for like habituation, training specialist. I can't remember the H word, but it's training specialist something. And they in the home are similar to that of a TA in a classroom, in a SPED classroom or in a typical classroom for a student who has an IEP. And they perform tasks in the home with the student, with the person, the adult, the young adult. Everything from Danielle learning how to shower and like brush her teeth and wash her hair on her own, and like getting dressed on her own, to then when she was in high school, working on her homework with her and teaching her how to use Snapchat, because she had friends from high school that were doing Snapchat and she wanted to learn, but nobody at school would teach her, because obviously your teachers at school are not going to teach you how to use Snapchat. But it's a social thing that she wanted to learn and she wanted to kind of get used to. Every now and then HTSs would drive Danielle places, or, you know, whatever. And in often cases, our HTS ended up being really close to our family and would help our whole family make dinner. And we would treat them like another sibling or an older sibling, that sort of thing. So I'm glad that question was asked. Other questions in the chat. You understand what it means to be about a diverse family. Yeah, definitely a diverse family. Organizations, just like you mentioned, TSHA in Tulsa is a great one. Wonderful. I love that you're sharing resources, of course. Why did I want to become Miss Oklahoma? One thing that like I said, I really loved about the Miss Oklahoma and Miss America organizations were that you got an opportunity to advocate for a cause that you loved. I had a couple of friends in college that were competing for Miss Oklahoma already, and they were coming up with causes to care about, and they didn't have something that they already felt was near to their heart and already were volunteering with and that sort of thing. And I said, well, I've got something that I really care about, and I think people should be hearing about what I have to say, because Danielle and her peers deserve to be seen. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to have an advocate in that space, because they are not being talked about in that space. So that's one of the biggest reasons why. Outside of that, I am proud to be a person of color and thought that the representation, not just of people with different abilities, but people of color really needed to be seen in the realm of Miss America and pageantry. And I love getting scholarship money. I've already received so much scholarship money. I think it's almost $70,000 in scholarships to go toward my my collegiate education, and I'm going to get to go to grad school because of it. So those are the three big reasons that I wanted to compete for Miss Oklahoma, and will be really excited to compete for Miss America in December. Down Syndrome Association of Central Oklahoma, great resource. Love that link. If you need it, it's in the chat. What is HTS? Okay, we answered that one. Okay, yes, what made me want to become Miss Oklahoma? That is mostly deaf, hard of hearing, and communication issues, but also interprets are connected with TSHA. Okay, great. Thank you, Woof, OFN, yeah, or Wahoo. I don't know why I said woof. Woohoo! OFN. Thank you for clarifying. Resource guide, wonderful. Put them absolutely. All great questions, all great resources to be shared. Some ones that I mentioned that I think would be really great resources for those of you who have family members, or if you're a self-advocate yourself. Like I said, Best Buddies is a great organization. Miss Amazing. Terry and I talked a little bit about that organization before everybody hopped on, and I know some of you on this call are already interested or involved in that organization, which is pretty wonderful. That one is specifically for women and girls, but there are opportunities to volunteer if you're a male, if you're a man, and you want to be involved as well.
I was just going to say, Maggie actually texted me. She's actually a self-advocate. Mm-hmm. And she is going to be participating in the upcoming Miss Amazing pageant. And she says she's shy and she doesn't want to ask herself. She was just going to put it in the chat, but she said she wants to know if you have any tips and tricks for her to compete her first time.
Oh, well, I am so excited for you, Maggie. That is going to be a blast. You're going to have a great time making friends and learning about yourself and those around you. Some of my biggest tips for anyone wanting to represent themselves well, not even just in a pageant situation, but if you're going into a job interview or you're going on a date or you're meeting a new friend for the first time, to lead with confidence, to give your most authentic self, meaning just be yourself and try your best to tell the truth. Don't make up anything about yourself in any way to sound fancy, because so often people see through that. Shoulders back, chin up, walk with pride, because you should be proud of who you are. You have so much to share with the world.
Thank you so much. I know that means the world to her.
Oh, of course.
Does anybody else have any other questions? We've still got about 14 minutes left. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, I guess we can go ahead.
I was going to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was talking about the Oklahoma Family Network. I am hard of hearing, and they've totally helped me out with feeling like I belong, because my family, it seems like they don't want to learn sign language. And so this OFN has just really helped me. So I really support them.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for adding that. Thank you.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then we can go ahead and close out for the evening. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ashleigh. And thank you, everybody, for participating and jumping and joining us. And I hope you guys have a great week. And I'll see everybody Thursday.
Thanks for coming, everyone.